Earth's last defense line crumbled like paper in the wind. From his hidden observation post in the Rocky Mountains, Colonel James Chen watched helplessly as the third wave of alien warships darkened the skies above Denver. His hands gripped the binoculars tightly, knuckles white with tension. After 30 years of military service, he never imagined his final mission would be to witness humanity's end. The massive ships, black as obsidian and shaped like arrowheads, moved with terrifying precision. Their energy weapons carved glowing purple lines through the clouds, ready to deliver the final blow to what remained of the city below. Chen closed his eyes, unable to watch. But the expected explosions never came. Instead, a deep rumble shook the mountain beneath his feet. His eyes snapped open as new ships emerged from behind Earth's moon, hundreds of them, their hulls gleaming silver in the sunlight. These vessels were different, their design more organic, like giant sea creatures swimming through space. "My God," Chen whispered, his breath fogging in the cold mountain air. The silver ships moved into attack formation, but not against Earth's cities. They engaged the black warships, their weapons blazing with brilliant blue energy. Chen couldn't believe what he was seeing. These were the same aliens who had terrorized Earth for the past 6 months, the ones who had destroyed Shanghai, London, and Cairo. But they weren't attacking Earth anymore. They were defending it. Through his binoculars, Chen watched as the Silver Fleet tore through the black warships with devastating efficiency. The hostile aliens, caught completely by surprise, began to retreat. Within minutes, the skies above Denver cleared, leaving only the silver ships standing guard like ancient sentinels. A message crackled through his emergency radio, broadcast on all frequencies in perfect English: "People of Earth, we were wrong about you. We have come to make amends. Your world faces a danger far greater than us, and we will not let you face it alone. We stand with humanity now, as your guardians, until the end." Chen lowered his binoculars slowly, his hands trembling. The same aliens who had nearly wiped out humanity were now offering to protect it. But from what? What could be so terrible that it would turn their greatest enemy into their strongest defender? Looking up at the silver ships now holding position above the city, Chen realized that humanity's story wasn't ending. It was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would change everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. And this was just the beginning. 6 months earlier, the world had been a very different place. It started on a quiet Tuesday morning in April, when the International Space Station sensors detected something unusual approaching Earth at incredible speed. The objects appeared out of nowhere, bypassing all early warning systems. Within hours, massive black ships filled the skies above every major city on Earth. The world held its breath, watching and waiting. News channels broadcast continuous footage of the vessels, their dark surfaces absorbing sunlight like bottomless pools. For 3 days, the ships simply hovered, silent and motionless. World leaders attempted communication, broadcasting messages of peace in every known language. But the visitors remained quiet, observing. Military forces worldwide stayed on high alert, fingers hovering over buttons that could launch nuclear weapons, though everyone knew such weapons would likely be useless against beings capable of interstellar travel. On the 4th day, they finally responded. The message was simple, broadcast simultaneously in every language: "Your world holds something that belongs to us. Surrender it, or be eliminated." No one understood what they meant. What could Earth possibly have that these advanced beings wanted? Before any meaningful dialogue could begin, the attack started. The first strike hit Beijing at dawn. The alien weapons cut through the city's tallest buildings like they were made of paper. Shanghai fell next, then Moscow, then London. Earth's military forces launched everything they had: fighters, missiles, tanks, but nothing could penetrate the ship's shields. Dr. Helen Park, working at a secret underground facility in the Australian outback, analyzed the attack patterns. "They're not just destroying randomly," she told her team, pointing at data streams flowing across her screens. "They're searching for something. Look at these scan patterns, they're methodical, precise. Each attack follows a grid pattern, like they're digging through layers of the Earth itself." Refugee camps sprang up in remote areas as people fled the cities. The aliens seemed to ignore smaller towns and villages, focusing their attacks on major population centers and specific geographic locations. Ancient sites like the pyramids of Giza, Stonehenge, and certain mountains in Tibet drew particular attention. Global infrastructure crumbled. Power grids failed, communication networks went dark, and governments struggled to maintain order. Yet humanity didn't break. Communities banded together, sharing resources and protecting each other. Underground resistance movements formed, even though their attacks on the alien ships seemed as effective as throwing pebbles at a tank. As weeks turned into months, a pattern emerged. After each attack, the aliens would pause, scan the area thoroughly, then move on with what seemed like growing frustration. Whatever they were looking for, they hadn't found it yet. In a makeshift command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, military leaders from around the world gathered to coordinate what remained of Earth's defenses. General Sarah Hayes stood before a map covered in red markers indicating destroyed cities. "We're running out of options," she said grimly. "At this rate, there won't be much left to defend." That's when Dr. Park made her breakthrough. Analyzing data from before the attacks, she discovered something extraordinary in ancient geological scans. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, in locations corresponding to the aliens' attack patterns, there were structures that couldn't have been natural, structures that seemed to pulse with energy readings similar to the alien ships themselves. But before she could share her findings with the world, everything changed. New ships appeared in the skies, and with them came a revelation that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos, and its true heritage among the stars. The real question wasn't what the aliens were looking for. The question was, what had been hidden on Earth, and why had it been protected for so long? The discovery shook the scientific community to its core. As Dr. Park led a team of researchers through an ancient chamber deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, their flashlights revealed what centuries of human civilization had missed, walls covered in metallic symbols that seemed to shift and glow under their light. "This isn't just a cave," Dr. Park whispered, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "This is a library." Her hand trembled as she ran her fingers over the strange markings. To everyone's amazement, the symbols responded to her touch, lighting up with a soft blue glow that spread across the walls like ripples in a pond. The chamber had been discovered after one of the alien attacks had accidentally exposed its entrance. But unlike other sites they'd attacked, this one remained largely intact, protected by technology that defied current human understanding. As the research team set up their equipment, holographic images suddenly filled the air around them. They showed Earth, but not as it existed now. The images revealed a time over 100,000 years ago when Earth served as a sanctuary world, a protected planet where ancient species stored their most valuable knowledge and technologies. The most stunning revelation came when they decoded the primary message left behind. "We chose your world," the translation read, "because your species showed the greatest potential. Humanity was not just found, it was created, designed to be the guardians of this knowledge until the time was right." Meanwhile, in secret military facilities worldwide, soldiers reported strange occurrences. People who had survived close encounters with the alien weapons began showing unusual abilities. Their wounds healed faster than normal, and some claimed to hear thoughts or move objects without touching them. Dr. Park's team made another breakthrough while studying tissue samples from these survivors. Human DNA contained dormant sequences that matched patterns found in the ancient library. The alien attacks weren't just searching for artifacts, they were accidentally activating something hidden within humanity itself. The hostile aliens, it turned out, were not the original creators of these sites. They were scavengers, searching for powerful technologies left behind by a far older civilization. But they didn't understand the true purpose of what they sought. The assets hidden on Earth weren't weapons, they were tools of creation and protection. Underground in the Himalayan chamber, Dr. Park and her team worked tirelessly to understand the ancient messages. Each revelation led to more questions. Why had humanity been chosen? What were they meant to protect? And most importantly, why now? The answer came from an unexpected source. One of the survivors, an elderly farmer from Nebraska, began drawing complex mathematical equations in his sleep. When analyzed, these equations predicted a cosmic event approaching Earth, something that hadn't happened in millions of years. As Dr. Park stood in the chamber, surrounded by the glowing symbols of humanity's true heritage, a final message activated. It showed a vision of Earth under attack, but not from the current invaders. Something far worse was coming, something that the original Guardians had foreseen and prepared for. The hostile aliens weren't the real threat. They were simply the first to discover what the ancient Guardians had known all along: humanity's dormant potential was about to awaken, and not a moment too soon. The real test of humanity's purpose as Guardians was still to come. In the depths of space, watching this unfold, another race observed with growing concern. They had made a terrible mistake in attacking Earth, and now they understood why. The story of the Guardian aliens, the ones who now protected Earth, unfolded through a series of transmissions shared with Earth's leaders. Their home world, once a beautiful blue planet called Calarian, had been the center of a vast peaceful civilization that stretched across 3 galaxies. Through their chief diplomat, a being they called the Memory Keeper, they shared their tragic history. The Memory Keeper's voice, translated through advanced technology, carried the weight of centuries as he told their tale to a selected group of human representatives in a secure facility beneath the Swiss Alps. Our world was much like yours, the Memory Keeper explained, his holographic form shimmering with subtle colors that reflected his emotions. We had great cities that touched the clouds, forests that sang with life, and oceans that held mysteries we had only begun to understand. But their civilization had discovered something they weren't prepared for. Deep in the unexplored regions of space, they found evidence of an ancient evil, a force that consumed entire galaxies, leaving nothing but darkness in its wake. This force had been dormant for millions of years, but it was beginning to stir. The Calarians knew they couldn't fight this threat alone. They searched the cosmos for allies and found Earth, a world that held special significance in the universe's design. The original Guardians, being so advanced they had transcended physical form, had left their legacy not in technology or weapons, but in the very DNA of humanity. We didn't understand at first, the Memory Keeper continued. We saw your cities, your conflicts, your struggling young civilization, and we thought you had the artifacts we needed to fight the darkness. We were wrong. You weren't protecting artifacts, you were the protection. The Calarians had paid a terrible price for their mistake. Their attack on Earth had drawn attention from the awakening darkness. It found their home world first. In a matter of days, Calarian was gone, its surface turned to glass, its people scattered across the stars. But in their darkest hour, they witnessed something extraordinary. The human survivors of their attacks began showing signs of the ancient Guardians' power. Each blast from their weapons had triggered dormant genes, awakening abilities that had been sleeping in human DNA for thousands of generations. Our greatest scientists had a theory, the Memory Keeper explained, his form flickering with what seemed like hope. The original Guardians didn't just hide their knowledge in your world, they hid their essence in your species. Every human carries a fraction of their power, waiting to be awakened. The Calarians made their choice. Instead of continuing their attack on Earth, they would become its defenders, helping humanity awaken to its true purpose before the darkness reached this part of space. Their own survival would depend on successfully protecting the very people they had once tried to destroy. As the Memory Keeper concluded his tale, he shared one final, crucial piece of information. The awakening of human potential couldn't be rushed or forced. It had to happen naturally, through cooperation and trust between their species. Every day they successfully defended Earth brought humanity closer to realizing its true power. In the chamber, human leaders sat in stunned silence, absorbing the weight of this revelation. Their world wasn't just a battlefield, it was the key to survival for all sentient life in the galaxy. And time was running out. High above Earth, Calarian ships maintained their protective formation, their crews no longer conquerors but teachers, guardians, and hopefully, one day, allies in the greatest fight the universe had ever seen. The first joint human Calarian base took shape in the remote plains of Mongolia. Away from major population centers, it served as a testing ground for what many thought impossible, true cooperation between former enemies. The base itself was a marvel of combined technology, Earth's practical designs merged with Calarian's advanced materials. Inside the main control room, Dr. Park worked side by side with Calarian scientists. Their different approaches to problems often led to surprising solutions. "Your species sees patterns we miss," admitted Zarin, a Calarian researcher whose crystalline skin reflected the room's blue lighting. "You think in ways we never considered." But trust didn't come easily. Many humans remembered the devastation of the initial attacks. When the first group of human volunteers arrived for training, tension filled the air. Some couldn't look at their new alien allies without seeing the destruction of their home cities. Old Joe Miller, a retired mechanic from Texas, became an unexpected bridge between the two species. His natural curiosity and straightforward manner helped ease tensions. "Ain't no point dwelling on what's done," he'd say, working on integrated systems with Calarian engineers. "Way I see it, they're trying to make things right. That's more than most folks would do." The breakthrough came during a routine defense exercise. A malfunction in the base's power core threatened to cause an explosion that could have wiped out everything within 50 miles. Without hesitation, human and Calarian teams worked together, each contributing their unique strengths to prevent disaster. As they celebrated their success, something extraordinary happened. Several human volunteers began showing new abilities. Tom, a young farmer from Idaho, discovered he could sense approaching weather patterns hours before they arrived. Maria, a former schoolteacher, found she could understand Calarian language without the translation devices. The Calarians explained that these abilities weren't random. Each human's awakening powers reflected their natural talents and personalities. The ancient Guardian's legacy was adapting to modern human traits, creating abilities that made sense for the present day. Cultural exchange flourished despite initial awkwardness. Humans introduced their alien allies to music, which fascinated the Calarians. In return, they shared stories of distant worlds and ancient civilizations. Movie nights at the base became popular, with Calarians particularly drawn to old Western films, seeing parallels between Earth's frontier days and their own history of space exploration. But not everything went smoothly. A group of human protesters gathered near the base, demanding the aliens leave Earth entirely. Some Calarian crew members questioned whether humans would be ready in time to face the coming darkness. Patience and understanding were tested daily on both sides. Dr. Park documented everything, knowing these early days would be crucial for humanity's future. "We're not just building a military alliance," she wrote in her journal. "We're learning to see beyond our differences, to recognize that the strength of both our species lies in working together." As the first month of cooperation ended, a joint celebration was held. Under the stars, humans and Calarians shared meals, carefully prepared to accommodate their different biologies, told stories, and looked toward the future with growing hope. That night, the memory keeper shared a vision of what could be, countless worlds working together, sharing knowledge and resources, standing united against the darkness. For the first time, both species believed it might be possible. But in the depths of space, something stirred. The darkness they feared was closer than anyone realized, and it had noticed the growing alliance on this small, blue world. Deep space monitoring stations picked up the first signs at 3 a.m. Earth time. Strange distortions appeared at the edge of the solar system, unlike anything in Calarian records. The memory keeper called an emergency meeting at the Mongolia base, his usually calm demeanor visibly shaken. "It's moving faster than we predicted," he announced to the gathered human and Calarian leaders. The holographic display showed a mass of swirling darkness larger than Jupiter, consuming everything in its path. Not just planets and stars, but space itself seemed to vanish into its depths. Dr. Park leaned forward, studying the readings. "How long do we have?" 2 weeks, maybe less," replied Zarin, his crystalline fingers dancing over the control panel. "Our long-range scanners show it's already consumed 3 star systems near Pluto's orbit." The Joint Command Center burst into action. Years of practicing emergency protocols finally had a real purpose. Human military forces worldwide were put on high alert, while Calarian ships took defensive positions around Earth. Old Joe Miller, now head of the integrated engineering team, pointed out something unusual in the sensor data. "Look here," he said, indicating a pattern in the darkness's movement. "It ain't random. It's searching for something, just like you folks were when you first came here." The memory keeper's form flickered with recognition. He's right. The darkness isn't just a force of nature, it's intelligent. And it's hunting the same power we sought, the Guardian's legacy within humanity. Teams worked around the clock, preparing Earth's defenses. Calarian technology was combined with human ingenuity in ways never attempted before. The awakened humans, now numbering in the hundreds, trained constantly to strengthen their new abilities. Tom, the farmer with weather-sensing powers, discovered he could detect the darkness's movements through space, feeling its approach like an oncoming storm. Maria's gift for understanding alien languages revealed that the darkness itself had a voice, ancient and hungry, speaking in whispers that echoed through subspace. Deep in the Himalayan chamber, Dr. Park made a startling discovery. The ancient symbols began showing new messages, responding to the approaching threat. They revealed that the Guardians had faced this darkness before, driving it back but at a terrible cost. This time, it would take both human and Calarian strengths to have any chance of victory. A plan took shape. The Calarians would provide the technology and knowledge of space warfare, while humans would contribute their awakening powers and unconventional thinking. Every nation on Earth put aside their differences, contributing whatever resources they could to the coming battle. As the darkness crept closer, something unexpected happened. More humans began showing signs of awakening, as if the approaching threat was accelerating their development. The memory keeper explained that fear wasn't triggering these changes. It was hope, determination, and the growing trust between their species. The night before the darkness was expected to reach Mars, humans and Calarians gathered once more under the Mongolian sky. No speeches were made. They simply stood together, watching the stars they had pledged to protect. Old Joe summed up what everyone was thinking. "Folks been asking if tomorrow's the end of the world. I reckon it's just the beginning of something bigger than any of us imagined." Above them, the combined fleet of Earth and Calarian ships waited in formation, ready to face humanity's greatest test. The coming battle would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the future of all life in the galaxy. The darkness was coming. But this time, it wouldn't find a divided and vulnerable target. It would face two species fighting as one, protecting not just a planet, but a shared dream of tomorrow. The darkness reached Mars at dawn. Everyone on Earth watched their screens as the red planet disappeared, swallowed whole. The combined fleet held position near Earth's moon, every crew member, human and Calarian alike, knowing these might be their last moments. The memory keeper's voice echoed through all ships, "Remember your training. Remember why we stand together." Earth's orbit filled with thousands of ships, arranged in a formation designed by old Joe Miller. He'd based it on how cowboys used to protect herds from wolves, layers of defense, each supporting the others. "Ain't much different in space," he'd said during planning. "Just bigger wolves." The first wave of darkness struck like a tsunami in space. Several smaller ships vanished instantly. But the fleet held formation, responding with concentrated fire from Calarian energy weapons modified with human targeting systems. The darkness recoiled, showing the first sign that it could be hurt. On Earth, the awakened humans gathered at key points around the globe, forming a network Dr. Park called the Guardian Grid. Tom stood on a mountain peak in Idaho, sensing the darkness's movements and relaying them to Fleet Command. Maria listened to its ancient whispers, translating its intentions to help predict its attacks. The battle reached its peak when the darkness split into multiple tendrils, trying to breach the defense line from different angles. That's when humanity's true power finally awakened. Thousands of people worldwide suddenly felt their abilities emerge, not in random bursts, but as a coordinated response to the threat. A schoolteacher in Brazil found she could generate energy shields. A fisherman in Norway could detect safe paths through the chaos. A young girl in Kenya instinctively understood how to heal the damage the darkness caused to space itself. The memory keeper's voice cracked with emotion. This is what the Guardians prepared for. Not individual heroes, but humanity rising together, each person contributing their unique gift to the whole. The turning point came when Dr. Park, working from the Himalayan chamber, decoded the final message. The darkness couldn't be destroyed, but it could be trapped. The ancient Guardians had built a prison for it, hidden in the space between dimensions. Earth itself was the key to its door. Old Joe coordinated the most daring space maneuver ever attempted. The entire fleet moved in perfect synchronization, herding the darkness toward Earth while awakened humans worldwide channeled their energy through the planet's natural ley lines. The darkness, drawn by the power it had hunted for so long, took the bait. In a flash of light visible from every corner of Earth, a portal opened. The darkness, unable to resist the pull of so much power, was drawn in. The prison sealed shut with a burst of energy that temporarily lit up the entire solar system. As the light faded, cheers erupted across the fleet and on Earth. But victory had come at a heavy cost. Many ships were lost, both human and Calarian. The survivors emerged forever changed, knowing they had witnessed something that would reshape the future of both their species. Above the celebration, the memory keeper shared one last insight: the greatest power was not in the weapons we used or even in the abilities that awakened. It was in learning to trust each other, to fight as one despite our differences. As the fleet regrouped around Earth, the sun rose on a new era, one where humanity had finally taken its place among the stars, not just as survivors, but as true guardians of life itself. The weeks following the battle brought both celebration and somber reflection. Cleanup crews, made up of humans and Calarians working side by side, cleared the orbital debris left from destroyed ships. Each piece told a story of sacrifice, of lives given to protect Earth and its newfound place in the galaxy. Down in the Mongolia base, Dr. Park worked tirelessly documenting the changes in awakened humans. Some abilities faded after the battle, while others grew stronger. The old mechanic, Joe Miller, discovered he could now sense structural weaknesses in any technology he touched, a gift that proved invaluable during the reconstruction efforts. It's like the powers adapt to what's needed most, he explained, helping repair a damaged Calarian shuttle. During the fight, we needed warriors. Now we need builders. The Memory Keeper established a new council, equally represented by humans and Calarians, to guide the reconstruction efforts. Their first decision was to honor the fallen. A memorial wall was built in every major city, listing the names of those lost in both the initial invasion and the final battle. Each name, human and Calarian, carved side by side. But not everything was smooth sailing. Some people struggled to adapt to their new abilities. A farmer in Kansas had to learn to control his weather-sensing powers after his emotions started affecting local rainfall. Support groups formed, with experienced awakened humans helping others understand their gifts. Maria, whose language abilities had grown even stronger, became a key figure in strengthening relations between the two species. She discovered that Calarian poetry held mathematical formulas that could help stabilize the newly awakened powers in humans. This led to the creation of joint education centers where both species could learn from each other. The biggest challenge came from the environmental impact of the battle. The darkness had left scars in Earth's atmosphere, causing strange weather patterns worldwide. Tom and other weather-sensitive humans worked with Calarian scientists to heal these wounds, developing new technologies that could repair the damage while protecting against future threats. In the Himalayan chamber, Dr. Park made another discovery. The ancient symbols were changing, showing new patterns that suggested Earth's role in the universe was still evolving. "We didn't just win a battle," she told the council. "We started a transformation that's still ongoing." 1 month after the victory, a group of Calarian ships arrived carrying survivors from their destroyed homeworld. The sight of Earth, blue and beautiful against the black of space, moved many to tears. Humans worldwide opened their homes to the refugees, sharing what they had with those who had lost everything. Old Joe hosted several Calarian families on his Texas ranch, teaching them about Earth customs while learning about their lost world. "Funny thing about loss," he said during a community dinner. "It either breaks you apart or brings you together. Looks like we chose the better option." The price of victory was high, but it brought something precious: a deep understanding between two species that had once been enemies. Every shared meal, every jointly solved problem, every moment of grief and joy experienced together strengthened this bond. As the sun set on another day of rebuilding, the memory keeper stood with Dr. Park watching children, human and Calarian, playing together in the Mongolia base's recreation area. "Perhaps this," he said softly, "was what the Guardians intended all along. Not just survival, but growth. Not just peace, but understanding." The stars shone brighter that night, as if reflecting the hope that had been born from sacrifice. Earth was different now, changed forever by its trial by fire. But in many ways, it was stronger than ever before. 10 years after the Great Battle, Earth had become something its people could never have imagined. The once secret Mongolia base had grown into a thriving city where humans and Calarians lived and worked together. Its spires, built with combined technology and artistic styles from both cultures, reached toward the stars they had fought so hard to protect. Dr. Park, now heading the Guardian Research Institute, sat in her office reviewing data from the latest surveys. The awakened abilities in humans had stabilized into something remarkable. Instead of dramatic powers, they had evolved into gifts that helped both species build a better future together. Architects could sense the perfect way to blend Earth materials with Calarian technology. Doctors could understand both species' biology intuitively. Teachers could share knowledge in ways that bridged cultural gaps. Old Joe Miller, his hair now completely white but his spirit as strong as ever, still taught at the Joint Technology Center. "You know what the real miracle is?" he asked his mixed class of human and Calarian students. "It ain't the fancy powers or the spaceships. It's that we learn to see past our fears and trust each other." The memory keeper, who had become Earth's ambassador to other worlds, often shared the story of how former enemies had become humanity's greatest allies. Other species, hearing of Earth's transformation, began reaching out. The planet that had once been isolated in the galaxy became a symbol of hope. In the rebuilt cities around the world, the scars of the first invasion had healed. But they weren't forgotten. Instead, they were transformed into memorial gardens where Calarian plants grew alongside Earth flowers, living symbols of how beauty could grow from destruction. Maria, who now led the cultural exchange program, had helped develop a new language that combined human words with Calarian concepts. Children grew up speaking it naturally, understanding ideas that neither species could express alone. Tom's weather-sensing abilities had led to a revolution in environmental protection. Working with Calarian scientists, he had helped develop a system that could heal damaged ecosystems on both Earth and other worlds. The techniques they created were now being used to restore the Calarians' lost homeworld, preparing it for future generations to return. But perhaps the most profound change was in how both species viewed their place in the universe. The ancient Guardians' legacy wasn't just about power or technology, it was about wisdom. The ability to learn from mistakes, to forgive, to build something new from the ashes of conflict. Dr. Park's final report to the Joint Council summed it up best: the greatest power the Guardians left us wasn't in our DNA or in hidden artifacts. It was the capacity to change, to grow, to become more than what we were. Humanity's true gift was never about fighting darkness, it was about creating light. As the sun set on another day, families gathered in parks worldwide for the annual Star Peace celebration. Children played with floating lights that mimicked the stars above, while elders shared stories of the battle that had changed everything. But they didn't just talk about the fighting, they talked about what came after. About how former enemies had become family. About how fear had turned to trust, and trust had blossomed into love. The Memory Keeper, watching these celebrations from the observation deck of the Mongolia base, smiled at the sight. The Guardians were right about humanity, he said softly. You never needed to be given power. You just needed to be shown how to believe in yourselves, and in others. Above them, the stars twinkled peacefully, protected by the combined fleet of human and Calarian ships. They were no longer guardians of just one world, but of a future where differences made them stronger, where ancient enemies could become eternal friends, and where the darkness would never again threaten the light they had built together. The end was really just the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure, learning to live not just as survivors, but as teachers of hope to the entire galaxy.